Just before we get started, I'd just like to remind you that I do have an email subscription list. The link for the list is in the description to this video. It's also on my websites, russleach.com and comicbookblackbelt.com, and also over at onlydeathcansaveus.com. That's the title of my new book. It's a Bronze Age inspired cosmic fantasy romp. So if you like the way comics used to be, full of fun and action, check it out and sign up for the email subscription list. Thanks very much for listening, and now on with the video. Hi there, welcome back to the dojo. I'm Russ Leach, I'm the comic book black belt, and this is another video entry in the series that follows the production of my book Only Death Can Save Us. In the previous entries, previous videos, we've covered writing and script, character creation, and also the value of a good cover, and also announced a downloadable PDF and online website for the marketing of the book. So it's a preview in PDF format, but also the pages are also on the website. That's over at Only Death Can Save Us if you want to go and check out the preview. Right, okay, so I've done a preview. Like I say, I've run through the script and character creation, all that kind of stuff, and now I'm running through the script and producing thumbnails. And I suppose this video is kind of talking about the importance of thumbnails, and thumbnails can mean different things to different people. So I'll bring my thumbnails up so you can have a look and see what I've done. On a computer, obviously, it's even more the case that they look like thumbnails because they're just the thumbnail icons you have on your hard drive in your folder. When I used to do most of my work traditionally, I would literally do thumbnails, so probably about the size, a page would be the size of, say, a playing card or something like that, and I'd quickly scamp in the rough positions for how I wanted the story to flow and the panels throughout the page, and then I'd photocopy those up and use them as a base to then do sketches over on a light box. Now, it's different when you do things digitally. Obviously, if you want to still do thumbnails at the size of postcards or whatever, real tiny thumbnails, that's up to you, and if that works for you, that's great. But I've found that because the processes are slightly different with digital versus traditional, that my thumbnails are actually the artwork itself, and they start off the process of the digital file that ends up being the final page. So if I just show you an example of one of my pages. So for instance, this is a sketch, okay, but it was a thumbnail because I only did it at sort of half size. In real terms, I suppose that's about the size of a postcard, and I just flick that out on the page, and then obviously you zoom in this is in Clip Studio Paint. I did this in Photoshop, but I'm doing everything now in Clip Studio Paint, and you zoom in and then you start filling in more detail and getting the sketch over the top of it to where you want it to be. But the point being is that you can lay out all your thumbnails or all your pages without having to go and generate smaller files or pick it or do like one big page like you would traditionally, and you know, draw out the little page sizes and then sketch in little thumbnails. It's not the same as it is traditionally as it is digitally. So I find that I don't do these small thumbnails. I simply just bring up the page, do a quick sketch, and then move on to the next page. The one thing that is quite cool, and I know that there are, it may even be in Clip Studio, I just haven't used it yet. I know there are bits of software that will help you manage your thumbnails, but I don't really feel I need to go all that way. It is really nice to be able to see your thumbnails and the progression of the story throughout in one place like this. So I just use Windows, system software to be able to view my thumbnails, and that works for me. And the fact that you've got a viewer to the right hand side, you can quickly see how those are coming on. Something else that that comic book artists will use the thumbnails for, there's two reasons. One is to obviously follow the story and get that story down as quickly as possible so that you've got this flow of story, and you're not just jumping from one page to the other when you get the opportunity to do it in that way. The other is also a visual thing. It's aesthetic, it's design led, and so you can see the pages work together. So you can see how a left and a right page works quite quickly and quite simply as an overview with your thumbnails, and that will make a difference to maybe how you lay out a page. So you might have for example, a tall thin panel on the right hand side of a left hand page, and then you go to the right hand page and another tall thin panel you might put on the left hand side of the right hand page. Now on their own, on the pages on their own, this might look fine, no problem, but then when you put them together they kind of look strange. They kind of look too symmetrical and it doesn't quite work. So it gives you that opportunity to have that overall look at things, both from a story perspective and aesthetically. So you can have a clear design, a clear feel of the way through through your book. I think that's the main reason for doing thumbnails for me personally, is not so much the aesthetic part of it, but just getting the story down. And people do thumbnails for lots of different reasons. There are times when you don't have time for thumbnails. So for instance, I didn't have time for thumbnails when I was doing Doctor Who, because I just had to I got the script and I just got the page down as quickly as I could. And then I was able to see, once I'd penciled it all out and changed things at ink, I just didn't have the time to do it. But when you're laying out a larger book, especially something like this is 60 pages long, and you've got a more open-ended schedule, then definitely you can sit and play with thumbnails for a while to get it just the way you want it to look. So there are many reasons that different artists will use, the different artists have to use thumbnails, and the way that they produce their thumbnails and what works for them. So you've got to find a way that works for you. Like I say, if you're doing all this traditionally, then you won't have thumbnails like this. You'll have like a sheet, maybe an A3 or an A2 sheet of all your thumbnails put together. How you get those up to size, if you bother to do that, like I say, I used to photocopy mine and then put them on the light box and then trace over the top of them, so that I just had everything in roughly the right position. These thumbnails that I've produced here, it depends how much you get into it, but so some of the thumbnails I've gone reasonably far enough that you can actually see some decent figure drawing going on, just the basics, and then other thumbnails I've been quite loose with, and I think it really depends on how I felt on the day, because it took me a few days to get through these all. But what the really important thing is that, and what thumbnails are there for, as far as I'm concerned, is to get that story laid out in front of you so that you have something then to work on. I think mentally as well, from a production perspective, once you've laid out your thumbnails, you kind of feel like you've gotten somewhere. You kind of feel like you've gotten the story down on paper or down on screen, whatever it might be, and it helps you feel like you've crossed a line, as it were. You've taken the first hurdle and you've landed, and then you can move on from there. It's almost like the pencils to ink stage. You feel like you've got something down. You've got a definite purpose, and depending on how much detail you put into your thumbnails, like I say, some of these I've put maybe a little bit more than I should have, but it can also help you with that, with that impetus of drawing. If you come to a thumbnail and it's too rough, you feel like you've started again. So from my perspective, doing these digitally and having that ability to do something a little bit larger, not like the playing card size, but more like a postcard or A5 kind of size, and actually get some kind of reasonable sketch down, and then move to the next one and quickly go through them, and that's my thumbnail process. So as you can see, this particular page, this is page 1, you can see how it developed from the sketch. So that would have been my thumbnail. Quickly rack that down, go to the next one. But then when I came back, I put the sketch in place, and then that went to the final pencils and the inks. So you can see how the page develops from the thumbnail all the way through to the finished product. So the whole idea of these videos is not to It's not to say to anybody, this is the way you should be doing things. This is not a tutorial video. This is cathartic to a degree, because I'm getting my views and my opinions and showing how I produce my books out to other people. The idea is that maybe the way that I do things might be of some use. You might look at the whole thing and say, no, I do all my work traditionally, that means nothing to me, but one thing I might have said might have helped. If that's the case, if this process of me being able to say, this is the way I'm doing things, or this is the way I'm doing my book, this is the way that the production is coming together for me, if that's of any help, then, you know, that's what the channel's all about, that people have an insight into the way I do things, and hopefully it can help them. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video, you've seen my thumbnails, you've seen the production move another step forward. The next thing I'll come back with is showing some actual penciled pages, so I'll have some screen capture for you of showing me penciling some pages up, and then some inking of pages and colours as well after that. And then hopefully once I move forward from there, we'll have some kind of a date as to when I can go into crowdfunding and get the book up live. But that's a little way off yet. So that's it for this video. Thanks very much for joining me in the dojo today. Do remember, I am over at Facebook, Twitter, on Instagram. You can find me at russleach.com, comicbookblackbelt.com. Obviously the book, onlydeathcansavus.com. And if if you like the video, please give it a like, share. That really helps the algorithms. If you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. It means so much that people listen and look at the artwork that I'm producing, and they get to communicate directly. YouTube is such a fantastic platform. And also the email subscription list, which is at any of the links in the description for the video, the ones that I've discussed, russleach.com, etc. You can find a link for the email subscription list there, so please join up so that I can keep you informed about the book in the future. That's it for now. Thanks very much for joining me in the dojo today, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye bye. Thanks for watching Comic Book Black Belt. If you've enjoyed the content from this video, please like, share or subscribe, and come over and follow me on Twitter. It's been great having you in the dojo. See you again soon.